one of those positions. Good afternoon, all. It's 5:30. And this is Wednesday, September 18th, 5:30, 2024. This is a meeting of the Palm Springs Airport Board Commission. Robert, I'm going to ask you today to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We do it real. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you all. You see that the agenda is posted.
Yes.
Let's take a roll call.
Commissioner Bates,
Here.
Merriman,
Here.
Burke,
Here.
Caldwell,
Here.
Corcoran,
Here.
Delgado. Commissioner Evan Steiner could be joining us on Zoom. I'll keep an eye out for him. Feltman. Fong,
Here.
Edric,
Here.
Keel,
Here.
Martin is excused. McDermott, here. Hart, here. Ty. Zemalaska,
Here.
Wise,
Here.
Wiseman,
Here.
Young.
Here.
Thank you. We have a forum.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we have an agenda.
A motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
Okay, I'll take a roll call vote. Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Fong.
Yes.
Fong,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Hart. Yes. Ty. Sorry. Sam Laska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have one. Christine, are there any public comments?
We do not have anyone scheduled for public comment for general comments today. Is there anyone in the room wishing to speak in public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? If you wish to speak in public comments, please raise your hand. We have no public comments.
Okay, good. Let's move forward to approval of the minutes. The two different meetings we have to approve the minutes for March 20th and April 17th. Christina?
Sorry, I was checking the chat. We need to approve the minutes separately, so we'll do the March 20th first. One second. Yeah, we'll call up. Mr. Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Fong. Fong,
Yes.
Edric,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Hart. Yes. Zemalaska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Just edit, I don't see my name either in present or absent section.
Okay, we will make that correction. Thank you for pointing that out. Young,
Yes.
thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve the second? So moved. Second.
We go roll call vote. Banks,
Yes.
Behrman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Fong,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Zermaster,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, let's move forward to our agenda. Okay, Christina, we're good. So Daniel, you're up first in our marketing air service updates. I know you want to get off to the chamber event tonight. You want to especially take the lead? Yes.
You should be joining in 1 second. We had to promote. Sorry about that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so quick update on this one. Advance. Oh, boy. Sorry. There we go. All right, so here on this slide, we have our scheduled departing seats. We can see, this for actually, scheduled departing seats for the rest of the quarter and rest of 2025 and early rest of 2024, first part of 2025. October is up 4.3% in seats, which is great. November, December are slightly down. This is primarily due to JetBlue's exit and some adjustments from Southwest on the continuing 737 MAX issues they've been having, which we've seen with those over the summer. That's not news. January and February are both up, which are both boosted by the addition of Porter Airlines coming to town with their service to Toronto and increased capacity from American Airlines. Also, Avelo, their schedule is only published in early January. I think it's about January 6th right now. So I am expecting for once they publish for January and February, seat counts to continue to increase. So the season is looking good for us. On the next page, we have the last 3 months of total passenger numbers for you guys. June and July and August were all down versus 2023. However, those were totally unexpected. So June counts were down, but we expect that because June's available seats were down due to 737 MAX issues. Also, if you recall, San Francisco had some runway work going down. They actually had all airlines reduced flying out of those that impacted volunteering as well. July was down for the same reasons as June. And then August was down as well for the same reasons as June and July. I suppose runway work has completed, I believe, so that should not be an ongoing issue for us. And Southwest has actually revamped pretty much almost all of their schedules going forward with the 737 MAX issues. So I'm not expecting any big seat reductions going forward right now. But then again, at least I don't know where I'm seeing unless something goes awry out in the industry. Let's see, so next page, I've got the seasonal return here listed for you guys. So in September, our first seasonal returning is Minneapolis on Delta, followed by Sun Country, also to Minneapolis. United is bringing back Chicago O'Hare on the 26th, and then next we have several for October restarts. Air Canada is returning for their seasonal service. Alaska is returning Portland, Painfield, JFK. And Hondo on Alaska, JFK last year, they started in December. This year, they're bringing it back in October, so almost about 6 weeks earlier than last season, which is good news for us. Bellingham is returning Allegiant in early October, followed by American, Chicago O'Hare, Southwest San Jose, and United is doing Houston and LA on the same date, the 27th of October. And then WestJet returns Edmonton and Winnipeg, October 3rd and October 29th. If you guys are ever curious about, what's returning and when seasons are ending, we keep a full updated list at flypsp.com on the airlines and flights tab. So just pull that and you can see seasonal return and end dates for each airline, each route on there. Next page is other updates we have. So we launched our new newsletter called Sunny Skies. The first one out last week on September 10th. I hope most of you received it. This newsletter is going to be another tool we have to communicate with our community and those interested in PSP news and information. All information should be on the list, but if you haven't, anyone can sign up, public, as well on our website, flypsp.com/updates, or just go to the airport website, scroll to the very bottom. There's a sign up page at the footer of every page on the website, so it's pretty easy to find if anyone is interested. We also have an update on the customer experience program that I've been working on with Commissioners Burke and Feldman, as well as Julie Sinclair of Visit Greater Palm Springs. So this is for the new commissioner for developing PSP's first customer experience program. We submitted a scope of work to city procurement, and it is in line for publishing. We're hoping that should publish in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but they do have a long list because they are handling, RFPs for every department within the city, but we are in line. We sent the scope about a month ago, if I remember correctly, so we should be publishing pretty soon, I hope. We hope to have a consultant begin work with us in January or as soon as possible, and the goals for the program ready to launch by the start of the next fiscal year. And then something else new we're adding this year, so I know last year there was some concerns from some of the commissioners about the long lines and baggage claim and the checkpoint confusion, people finding lines, things like that. So we got together with our staff, operations staff, and then Tom DeVell, our lead navigator, we were coming up, interesting work on the new mobile assistance team for the airport. So the team could be an expansion of our volunteer navigator program. We're adding 3 new assistance locations to the program by placing mobile information booths and baggage claim in the ticket lobby. If you guys remember the mobile information booth we put in the courtyard last spring, we're adding 2 replicas of that in the baggage claim and the ticket lobby. We're putting big signs on top saying information or need help are really visible to passengers. We're also getting the navigators PSP brand yellow vests as they need help on the back of them and have volunteer on the front to make them really visible to passengers. And so I hope is when they're in a baggage claim, say with a rental car, they'll see the rental car lines, they can see somebody in line, say it's a group of people, 5 or 6 people. They'll encourage maybe 1 or 2 to stay get the car and the others to be go to one of the seating areas to try and kind of clear that up. They'll also be there to answer questions on what bag claim they need to go to. Traditionally, airlines are allowed to use any bag claim they want here. They're not assigned, it's basically first come, first served. But they traditionally kind of go with the same ones over and over. And so our operations team is putting which bag claim is normally the one that each airline uses for it. And the navigators will be there, so if that changes, they can inform passengers, okay, United, San Francisco switch to bag claim free where it fits. So I have them down there for that as well. And then we'll have a location in the ticket lobby, helping direct people to, where Southwest is or American or the checkpoint, things like that. And we'll have a third volunteer at the checkpoint, helping direct people, giving directions to the general terminal, also directing passengers to what line they need to use. Maybe it's the general line, pre-check, where clear is, or sometimes when flight crews are coming in, I'm familiar, they're not sure which line to use, they can help their pilots find the correct line as well. So hopefully, this will be something to help kind of clear up a little the lines that we have and some of the confusion we have in the midday. And so these programs are going to be seasonal positions. They'll be going through, they start October 7th, I believe this first day, they'll go through late April, early May, depending on the weather. If it starts getting too hot, especially for the quarter, that's when that will shut down. And so let's see, that's, yep, and weather committee, and they are going to be year-round, and also in addition to the year-round information booth that we have on the way to baggage claim, and also that seasonal courtyard information desk I mentioned that we recorded last season. And then one last thing I have to say is I'd like to remind the commissioners to be sure to check your commission emails. We have sent out invitations to a preview night for the new concessions for Monday, September 30th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. So if you haven't seen it yet, go take a look. If you didn't get the email, just reach out to me or Christina or Andrew. We can get you the information for this stuff. Does anybody happen to have any questions on anything?
So for that, we have to get the pass thing for the Monday night event, right?
Oh, the event, yeah, so the visitor pass program is free to anybody to use, but yeah, so there's a sign down on the checkpoint with the QR code, scan it with your phone. You put information, your name, date of birth, address, and you run through all the security checks like if you're gonna fly on the airplane. And you get an electronic gate pass to go on through it, or you can register earlier at flypsp.com and have it all sent to your email. Just a reminder, if you do sign up for it, you can sign up 7 days in advance. And then the day of is when it'll actually mail it to you. So if you sign up on the 29th, it will mail it to you on the 30th. So just have to fly back on that. So
Daniel, what's the frequency of the Alaska flights from New York?
daily. Yeah, they'll be daily starting October 27th through maybe just after Stagecoach, so they're gonna do it correctly. Great. So with that, I'm also a member of the board of directors of Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce. Tonight is the Taste of Palm Springs and Palm Springs Business Expo. As a board member, I need to go volunteer and help out. But if you guys get out, we're still going on, come to Indian Canyons Golf Course and come check out some of the great local businesses if you're free.
Any other questions for Daniel Leeds? Anybody on Zoom? Anyone from the public?
Anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak in public comments on this item, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. We have no public comment.
You're good. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you all.
That's my update, and alternatives. Is Ryan standing by?
He is. So Ryan, if you're on, you can turn your camera on and get prepared. We are, for those commissioners who weren't here, for the strategic planning meeting last week, we introduced, the additional alternatives for the rental car facilities, as well as, Ryan and Stephanie's plans for traffic study, the additional traffic study that we needed to do as requested by the city council. We did have some discussion around that last week, but we wanted the commission to take a week to digest that and then maybe further explore that in this meeting tonight. So Ryan and Stephanie are gonna lead us through that, and then we can have some open discussion about that.
Brian, you can share now on the screen.
Okay, it's not letting us turn our video on, Christina. I don't know if you can fix that.
Give me one moment, to take a look.
And Steph, are you able to share?
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
I can. Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As Harry said, we've been working on these alternatives for the rental car center. This is the one item in the master plan that we still have yet to fully make a decision on. Harry, we can walk through all of these again at kind of a high level. I don't think you want us to go into the same detail that we went into last week. Is that correct?
High level, and then for those commissioners that weren't able to, if they have questions, we can dig into those.
Okay, sure. All right, Steph, you want to just hit the high points and we've also labeled these. So each label has either a north or south designation, and then we've numbered the alternatives. Is that correct, Steph?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Can everyone see my cursor if I am moving my mouse around? Perfect. All right, so before we start off, we'll start off with the south site alternatives. And I'll say that each south site alternative has 2 exhibits associated with it. So you'll see one with the rental car traffic flow, and then the next one will be the same alternative with the shuttle bus traffic flow. So starting with south side alternative 1, the rental car center is located south of Kirk Douglas Way, 5 levels above ground. The orientation is parallel to Kirk Douglas, and rental cars would enter and exit on the eastern face through Kirk Douglas Way, and they could also enter and exit through the western face of the facility on this proposed roadway that would eventually lead into Airport Center Drive, that would eventually lead into Ramon Road, and then they could enter only through Kirk Douglas Way through this along the front face of the facility. So staying on alternative 1, sorry, did somebody want to mention something?
Steph, I would just point out that one of the major advantages of locating the rental car center to the south that we've shown on this drawing is that we've expanded the curb front. So you can see where basically the curb extends out to where Signature's facility is currently located. So that gives us additional curb front, provides more of a better circulation, and obviously gets us more surface parking.
You say curb, you're talking about the north side of the property.
Yes, sorry, on the north side, yes.
And I'm sorry, Stephanie, Ryan, before you go on, can you expand your screen just a little, make it bigger?
Oh, yes, thank you, Harriet. Is
That's
that okay? That's good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, we'll move on to the shuttle flows for alternative 1. So in pink, you can see the flow of the shuttle, and I'll start over here by the terminal. So passengers getting dropped off, picked up at the terminal, looping around, heading south parallel to El Cielo, making a left turn onto Kirk Douglas. And rather than making this right turn, the shuttle buses would have to continue straight along Kirk Douglas. And the reason for that is because, as you can imagine, if you make a left turn and then need to quickly make a right sharp turn, that's not really safe with a shuttle bus, maybe possible with a car, but not really a shuttle bus. So they're kind of forced to continue straight onto Kirk Douglas, and then eventually making a right-hand turn along the western face of the rental car center. And because of the direction of the bus and passengers boarding and getting on and off of the bus. On the right-hand side of the bus, passengers would be picked up and dropped off on this side, so they would have to cross over to get to and from the rental car center. So after passengers are picked up and dropped off, the bus continues its route and loops back around. It cuts through this Lot E parking lot and continues back to the terminal. Some constraints of alternative one in relation to the other south site alternatives. As I mentioned, the passengers getting off on this site is one of the constraints, because then you would need to have some sort of median so that passengers can load and unload safely. So that's one of the big constraints with this alternative. And then another constraint is that the route of the shuttle is splitting Lot E, cutting through it. I did forget to mention, you'll see a green line on each of the south site alternatives, and this is pedestrian access. That could be, it could be a tunnel, it could be an elevated pedestrian crossing around Kirk Douglas, or it could be an at-grade walkway. And sorry, my computer froze for a second. If it were to be an at-grade crossing along Kirk Douglas, then you would expect to have some flashing lights or something, just so drivers can see that this is a pedestrian crossing, making sure that pedestrians are able to cross safely. So we wanted to consider a route for pedestrians that decided, weather permitting, to walk to and from the terminal and rental car center.
And just to clarify, for those of you who weren't at the strategic planning meeting, there were 3 presented. This was not recommended. We're just giving you a quick overview so you see the 2. And we'll spend more time with the one that's going on for more analysis.
Yes. All right, moving on to South Site Alternative 2. So again, traffic flows in for the rental cars in blue, but I'll mention that this alternative takes the rental car center and rotates it so the orientation is perpendicular to Kirk Douglas Way. And so rental cars would enter and exit on the eastern face of the facility and the western face of the facility. They could enter through Ramon or through Kirk Douglas, but then the traffic would exit onto Ramon. And moving on to the shuttle flows for this alternative. So again, pick up, drop off passengers in front of the terminal, head south parallel to El Cielo, make a left turn onto Kirk Douglas, continue along Kirk Douglas, pass the rental car center and make that right-hand turn. Passengers would be dropped off along this eastern face of the facility, and then they would loop around and pick up passengers along the western face of the facility, and then continue along to the terminal building. And so this alternative, and again, the pedestrian access shown in green over here, and this could be a tunnel, it could be an elevated crossing, or it could be an at-grade crossing, depending on what the group would like. And so some benefits and with this alternative, this is actually because passengers are being dropped off on the long face because of the orientation of the facility. They are being dropped off and picked up along the long face of the building. It allows shuttle buses to queue. So as you can imagine, in the other alternative, I'm going to flip back for one moment, I'm sorry. Dropping off and picking up passengers along the short face could introduce some queuing issues. And with this alternative along the long face of the building, you have more space for buses to line up. The other benefit with this alternative is that passengers are being dropped off on one side and they're being picked up on the other side. And so you're separating that traffic. Buses, you'd expect the buses to drop passengers off you know, they wouldn't be stationed here as long because they're dropping them off and then they're gonna pick them up over here. So it's not like they're loading and unloading at the same time. So that's another benefit of this. Some constraints with this alternative, this property to the south right here is not owned by the airport. So in order for this alternative to work, that would need to be acquired, and it would, in order to construct the facility at all, you'd have to have this acquired. And so while it is recommended in the other alternatives, it's required in this one. And then the other constraint that we've identified with this one is that the facility itself kind of cuts in between two parking lots here. And I'll move on to alternative 3. So similar to alternative 1, alternative 3 is oriented parallel to Kirk Douglas Way. There are 2 entrance and exit points. One on the eastern side can be accessed through Kirk Douglas, and one on the western side that could be accessed through this new road over here. One of the major difference between this alternative and alternative 1 is that this portion, I guess this entry road from Baristo into Kirk Douglas would be closed, and then lot C would be one continuous large parking lot over here. And so we're proposing an entry just south of that entry road over there. And then the shuttle routes for Southside Alternative 3, again, pick up, drop off passengers at the terminal, loop down south parallel to El Cielo, unlike the other 2 alternatives, pass this previously open entrance road and continue along south, make that left turn on this new roadway over here, and then you would drop off and pick up passengers on the western face of the rental car center. Unlike alternative 1, the buses are now facing north, so the right-hand side is, let's say, on the right side of the rental car center, so you don't need that median like you do for alternative 1. And once they drop off and pick up the new passengers, they just continue along to the terminal building. And you can see one of the benefits of this one is you can see how nice and clean this shuttle loop really is. It's straightforward and it's just one simple loop. So that's one of the main benefits of this alternative. Another, you can see the green pedestrian access over here. And it remains, you're not crossing Kirk Douglas, kind of in the, maybe a high-speed portion of the roadway. So this would be a good alternative to have the pedestrian access at grade, because they would just continue their walk all the way to the front of the terminal, where other passengers that are parking in this area would cross over. So that could be a cost-saving benefit over there. Similar to alternative 1, one of the constraints with this alternative is that the shuttle buses are dropping passengers off and picking them up on the short face of the rental car center. So again, queuing could become an issue. And let me just check my notes. And then the other constraint is that, you know, this portion of Kirk Douglas would be closed down, but that does allow for lot C to be one continuous large parking lot.
Do you know how many total parking spots there are in each alternative?
Ryan, do you?
We can get you those numbers, but I can tell you that every alternative fully meets the planning activity level 4 demand that we've quantified in the master plan.
Yeah.
If you go back to, the alternative with the perpendicular, rental car facility, so you're, dropping passengers off on one side, you're picking them up on the other side, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you're having, foot traffic coming in at one end. So where, I assume that on the first floor, some of that area is dedicated to rental car counters and facilities. Are you bifurcating the building by doing that? Bifurcating the first floor?
It's a good question. That is possible. It's really a design level detail. This thing is going to be multiple stories, and exactly how the drop off and pickup work and how the ingress and egress work is going to be up to the designers.
It just seems like getting passengers to a common area, wherever that common area is going to be, a design issue. Just an observation.
So Ryan, just a little process update.
Yes.
The task we had at our planning meeting was to go from 3 to 1 here and to select one. And I think it was option 2 that we were leaning towards. So I need to clarify that. And then the task ultimately is they're gonna take the northern option, which we've all been talking about for a long time, 3 stories above, 2 buried. And then whatever, they're gonna pick one of these 3, and then they're gonna go off into your traffic study so we can see what the implications are around parking spaces, traffic, and everything else. Isn't that where we left this discussion, Ryan?
Yes, that's exactly where we left it. And we're also going to do one more thing with these 2 alternatives that we narrow it down to, which is provide kind of similar renderings. So we have a understanding of the visual impacts of both facilities.
So is the discussion right now just an FYI around option 1 and option 2? Because or option 3 because we recommended to? Or are we going back to this decision over again?
No, this was to update the commissioners that weren't here in the last strategy meeting. There was never a formal vote on what to proceed with in the strategy meeting, so that's what we're trying to achieve that.
Okay.
I've got a question. During these meetings, was the style of passenger bus discussed at all? And, passengers handling their own bags, is there gonna be assistance? If it's open buses, is it regular seating, or is that too far in the future?
That's too far in the future. Now, I will qualify that by saying we just had 3 zero emission buses approved at the last city council meeting because we needed them. And those are customizable, so we'll be working through that design process with the vendor when we get to that point.
Commissioner Fong, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Do we have a sense of how easy politically and how expensive financially it would be to acquire the property needed for alternative 2?
Yeah, we do.
So what the property was last acquired for was right around the $9 million mark. And that's what we anticipate to pay should we need to acquire the property. The question about politics, that's not a question that I can answer. I can tell you that everything is involving this master plan is going to be somewhat political. But how sensitive that particular issue is going to be, I don't know.
Well, we had said in our meeting that it's not a $50,000 or $50 million bond. So when you look at the possibility of purchasing that land based on what the forecasts are today, it's nothing reasonable to acquire that much. We may have to acquire the land anyways for future use. But one of the debates we struggle with is this a $50 million decision or a $10 million decision? It's closer to one. We also know who the owner is, and that to answer the question on timing, that could or could not help us facilitate. We know who owns the land, we know what they paid for it, we think it would be appraised for in that range. It's not $50 million, because that was one of the big concerns. How much is it gonna cost to go in this direction?
The other concern I had was that notwithstanding the cost, there was some rumblings from people in the community about having the parking facility anywhere on the south side of the airport. So I'm wondering, notwithstanding the cost, whether or not you're going to have outraged members of the community fight that purchase. That's probably a discussion for another time, but it is something that I had heard about and was a little worried about.
So just like on the north side of the building, there is some concern on the south side of the building as well, or the south side of the airport. In particular, the adjacency to medium density residential. So that's a concern for us.
Exactly.
Brian, where do you wanna go with this?
That's really all the detail we wanted to share with you tonight, but if we can answer any additional questions to help you all make a decision on this, that's what we're here for.
Margaret, and then Kevin, and then, let's go ahead.
So my question is one of these a preferred alternative? There's one that staff would recommend supporting?
Right, so we intend to bring two alternatives to the city council in November. The first being the north site that we originally recommended, because that's the most favored. The second would be what you see on the screen, or what was just on the screen.
Sorry, Harry.
It was not just this one.
This is number, I just want to make sure that I didn't have it wrong. We said number 2.
Yes.
In the planning, okay. Yeah, we had an hour discussion about this, and we landed on this one. We had to pick one of the 3, we thought this had the greatest promise. And keep in mind, the next step with city council is to say, now we're gonna go do the traffic study.
Understood.
We're gonna spend the money to look at this option. So that's what we landed, I know we said that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Ryan, just wondering, and forgive me if I asked this last week, was one of these 3 alternatives expected to be the most advantageous from a traffic perspective, just at first glance, not having done the entire study?
Yeah, I think all of them can work from a traffic standpoint. You know, you're introducing shuttle buses to this whole airport complex, but like Harry said, that's going to happen for some of these extended lot F and long-term parking anyway. So I think all 3 of them can work. But it will be advantageous to compare the traffic impacts of a south rental car center versus a north rental car center, because we're really going to put a lot more traffic onto El Cielo in the north option. But we're also going to come to you with, if there are traffic impacts, if we have poor level of service or level of service F at any of these intersections, we're gonna also propose mitigation for how to deal with that. So that's part of the planning process as well.
But at the 3 south, there's none of them that's at first glance obviously better than the other.
No, not really.
Go first. Sam?
So Ryan, question for you, is this alternative that we're looking at right now, are we looking at varying 2 levels on this one, or is it all 5 levels above ground?
Yeah, the decision to bury a level or 2 levels could always happen post master plan, but the thought was that there's less sensitivity to 5 levels in this location. So the assumption is this is 5 levels above ground.
Are you ready for a motion to accept this?
Yeah, does anybody else have any other questions?
Just because this is the first time I've gone through this one I like because El Cielo is not impacted at all. Everything is on property. Are the other 2, if we go back, or you can just answer, are the other 2 accessing El Cielo and public roads?
Everything is south on these 3 options we're presenting.
So I'd like to make a motion that previous plan, that this plan be recommended as an alternative to city council?
That's option two,
Option two,
alternative two.
yes, this plan.
And we have a second.
Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, take a roll call vote. Commissioner Banks,
Yes.
Fairman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Bonds,
Yes,
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Hyde,
Yes.
and Laughter,
Yes.
Wise, Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
All right, so Ryan, next steps. So we know about the north, and now, for those who weren't there, the big aha in looking at the north was the proposal on the table is to have 5 stories, 2 buried. All right, so the big objection we had for the last 2 years about the height and the scope of the structure. And what's being proposed now is being addressed by burying 2 levels and incorporating the cost of that into moving this forward. And of course, the other debate that was around all 3 of the south options is, now we commit to shuttle buses, what does that cost? And what are the implications in terms of customer service? So our next step, Brian, if I'm right, is we're taking the north option, we're taking number 2 in the south. You're gonna move forward, the city council says, let's move forward. Then you guys do the parking study. Can you just give the commission a sense of the scope of that and just timing and what your thoughts are about how you look at these moving forward?
Yeah, the 2 questions that we're trying to answer are the biggest questions that we got from city council, which are what are the traffic impacts on El Cielo and East Ramon? With these 2 options, and then what are the visual impacts? What does the facility look like? From various vantage points, so not just a rendering, but some visual, standing outside of the terminal and looking to your right to see a rental car center, or looking to the south and seeing what the rental car center looks like from that vantage point. So we're going to package all that into a planning memorandum. The goal is to do some more community outreach in the month of October with some of the Down Valley cities, as well as a public open house, which I believe, Christina, we still have tentatively on the schedule for November 7th.
That's correct.
We'll talk about that when we get to the end, but yes. So this is going to the public again.
Yes.
Kevin?
I just wanted to point out, Commissioner Caldwell also brought up last week, if you weren't here, an interesting discussion about potentially building just the 4 levels and structuring the building in a way where the 5th could be built later on, 20 years down the road, when it's truly needed, which I think is definitely worth keeping in mind once we get to the design phase of this adventure. And then I just had a question on this north option. Do we meet the parking requirements without lot G in this version?
The surface public, I believe we do. If you continued lot F around the corner all the way to East Ramon, I think you would meet all the parking requirements, but we can certainly confirm that.
I think we should do both. We should be looking at parking as well as traffic here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just good to understand that, net, this version saves us 9 million of acquisition. It doesn't necessarily have to occur. Right?
Yeah, that's a great point. When we do these new drawings, we'll make it crystal clear how many spaces are provided in each of these lots. And so the difference between the 2 alternatives is crystal clear.
Possibly, yes.
Did we ever see any renditions of not burying any of it? Do we know what that would look like if we didn't go underground?
Are you talking about the northern?
Yes, no.
That's the reason going to the back with the renderings. From the moment that was proposed a long time ago, very first question objection that we said was, it's just too big, it's out of scale. We don't think it would have to affect the Wexler views down Tonquist per se, but it's still a big building for LCL. So the concession, if you want to call it that, in our latest discussion was, we're going to go into this proposal, burying 2 floors and paying for that in an effort to make it more reasonable, just in terms of how it looks on LCL and the impact on the rest of the airport. But when we get the renderings, that's when we're really better sense of it. That's what's coming next. Okay. Before we move forward, anybody in the public have any comments on this?
Anyone on Zoom that wishes to make public comment on this item, please raise your virtual Zoom hand at this time. We do not have any public comments.
Great, I have a question. If there was a commissioner that is attending via Zoom, can they, and they weren't on the packet or where their location is, can they make a public comment?
So,
I don't know the answer to that, I don't know if we have to ask.
Commissioner Martin has been advised on that, the city attorney, Jeremy Holm, we had that question come up in July, and the commissioner can make a comment if they wish to do so, in public comment, the city attorney was advising against it, because it could give the perception of,
So no, they can't make public comment.
it could give a wrong impression.
Okay, I just wanted to verify. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Right, okay, move forward. The rules. All right, 7C, the Agua Caliente Concourse Activation Space. If you can pull up those slides. Those of you who've been on the commission for a while, you understand we've been in the process with our partners at Fuse. They're trying to negotiate, what the naming opportunities would be for what will now the RJ terminal, now Agua Caliente Concourse. And more importantly, what would the activation look like inside? And Todd's gonna give a little overview and some history to this. But we're here to tell you tonight that, the subgroup working on this is landed in an agreement that really meets the requirements that came from the commission and also meets the needs of the tribe. And most importantly, we wanted to see, and the tribe agreed, to try to bring, to improve the customer experience. It is something bigger and better that we can show and point to. And so we're here today to tell you about what that looks like. Todd, you want to do some color on this?
Absolutely, we'll get those renderings coming up. As Kevin said, this has been a long time in the making. Our initial goal as we entered these conversations with the casino was anything that was public facing, we wanted to be very mindful of the imagery that related to gaming. We are very respectful of our partners with the casino, but we wanted to really showcase what the resort was like in the casino and that experience. So as you can see, we have, it has taken us almost a year to get to the point where we are now. Combining with that, we wanted to make sure that this space, because this space is going to be here for a number of years. We wanted to make sure that this space was also very user-friendly for our passengers. We've all identified that we need power outlets, and we wanted this space to be used a little bit differently. So we're really pleased to show you what we've come up with. Kevin and I believe that this is the right option moving forward. All parties involved actually agree that this is the rendering that we'd like to use going forward. So looking at the very back of the concourse up above, that's currently advertising space that we have available today for anyone. So this will continue to be advertising space with imagery very similar to what you see there. In the center section where the breeze blocks are facing us is going to be a video screen, and those will be images that will rotate to be determined what that number of rotations per minute will be. But those will be not only images from the resort, they're also going to be images of the destination. So it is an opportunity for us to showcase all of our destination. On the back side of that is going to be one static image that stays the same the entire time. It's mirrored on the front and the back. I think we have a second image that shows you, if you could advance that to the next slide, that shows you a side view, and you'll be able to see that this is on both sides of that screen. So the middle, I call them sort of the middle round coupes, those will be electrified. I know every time we say that, Jeremy and the team's like, yeah, sure, we're not quite sure how it's gonna happen yet, but we have that commitment from the operations team at the airport to make sure that we do have power ports for this, and it's a really comfortable place for our passengers to sit and relax for their flights. So that's the really That's the kind of 30,000 foot level. We won't get into all of the renderings that led us to here. At the end of the day, we're very comfortable with this. We think this is a very, very good, for somebody just arriving, it's a very nice welcome to our destination. And for those leaving, if they've been here visiting, I think it gives them a time to sit and reflect. For those who are using this for business purposes, it also ticks that box as well. So we're all advancing with this one. Kevin, I don't know if there's anything else
Just
I would like to add.
Some of the scopes of the deal, I have to help me out, make sure I get the numbers right. It's a 3-year deal. It includes this activation and also naming of the concourse, which would be Agua Caliente Concourse. Fuse has done this for 1.4. Okay, 1.4 over 3 years, and the airport will net 800 and something thousand. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact number. That's what we're gonna get. This is significant more revenue than we have received, or Fuse and or their predecessors received from the tribe and the casinos, from one of the casinos in the past. So I hate to use the word windfall, but it's a significant additional revenue to us to get to improve the customer experience inside. And this is a 3-year deal, which we'll look again a year and a half from now, and see how this goes and how we proceed.
This will take a number of months, maybe Jeremy or somebody on the airport side. I think they told us it'll take probably 3 months once construction starts for this to be fully complete. Is that correct? Yeah, about between 3 and 4 months.
What's the anticipated impact on overall seating?
We did that analysis.
I don't know if we have as well. You know, there have been times where that space has had no seats in the middle of it. Right, currently, if you go down and visit that, there is a row of seats down in the center section.
Yes.
So I really don't think it's going to have.
It's not gonna have an impact, so that row of seats currently comes up to that pole on the left side there. So that entire area where the activation space currently exists, that's free right now.
If we could advance the slide, the next image might also help you see what the kind of the current floor plan and the layout that you have of seats in that space.
Other question?
Are we paying for this or are they paying for this?
They're paying for it.
Oh. So it's a win-win.
It is a win-win. There was, we had a list of criteria like, we have to have workstations, we have to have plugs, we have to have things that don't exist now in some of the other seats. And, in the tribe of the casino team had the same agreement. Somehow there has to be some sort of improvement, a lift to the customer experience, above and beyond the imaging that you see here. And keep in mind, even though we're putting in new concessions on the north side of this terminal, we still suffered with some restrictions about how to get power to these poles in this terminal. And we got them saying graciously to Jeremy, if you're putting in a restaurant, you've got to be able to put in no electricity, something. Anyways, we're pretty confident we've solved that problem. And not only I think it's gonna look nice and be a nice addition, but we're gonna give our guests another experience, both first impressions and last. And again, the RJ terminal will always be the stepchild, until we get to phase 2 of our master plan. But we think this is a good addition to do it.
Does it present any opportunity for electricity beyond the new development? I mean, can it be extended out to seating areas?
Jeremy, as we turn our heads to Jeremy.
The answer to that is gonna be not easily, but we will try.
Yeah. Obviously, the scope for us, our focus was really on how do we bring power into this section.
Did those little side tables near the round benches, are they intended also at power?
They are not, I don't believe, the round ones, on the corners. No, they are not.
The 2 center seating areas, and then on either side are under
The little side tables.
So if you look at the palm trees, now we can advance, can we go back 1 slide, please? So the round sofa areas, for lack of a better word, And then there are standing tables that are, around the palm trees. Those will have cover as well.
So just the standing tables, not the sofa side tables.
Not the side tables, correct. In fact, those are intended that they can move, that they can be modular and move around. So that if you need to have a little bit of a workspace, you can bring it to where you're seated in the round sofa.
We haven't selected the date, I believe it's gonna be in November. Where we're gonna have the formal ceremony.
We're shooting for November, it hasn't been confirmed yet.
And it'll give us an opportunity to unveil the sign that's already installed, that's covered right now. Unveil the sign, have a celebration, with tribal leadership and with airport leadership, city council, to celebrate this and to, again, publicize the deal and also the investment that the tribe and the casinos are making to improve the customer experience. It'll be sometime in November, and you'll all be invited to that as well. Any questions on this? Any questions from the public or on Zoom? And for those of you who worked on this along with the subcommittee, thank you for your help. Thank you to our friends at Hughes for being patient with us, and we landed in a nice spot, so. Thank you, okay. Christina, we good to move?
Yes, thank you.
All right, good. More good news. Let's talk about, oh, wait a minute, the budget yet, but we'll do it. Then we'll talk about concessions.
Okay, what's wrong with the budget?
I'm nothing is perfect. Hey, just a little shout out. Victoria, did you do the packet here? This beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
That's it was really, really well done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everything you need to know about finances, I hope you had a chance to read it. It answered a lot of questions I've been around for a while that I didn't even know about, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Well done. Go ahead, it's your floor.
All right, so, so this was prepared with the assistance of our financial consultant, Rosca. So we went through, the budget for fiscal year 2024, and we compared that to the actual for fiscal year 2024. So this is gonna be a summarization of that. You'll also see some data in there from 2019, so this will give you information based off of what our normal year before COVID was, so you can kind of have an idea and comparison for the two years there. Our operating trends, so what you'll see here is that our adopted budget was about $42 million for expenses, and we came in about $32 million of expenses. That's a 25% decrease from what our adopted budget was. You'll see that over the years, so starting from the left-hand side, fiscal year 2019, we were at 22 million, and we've gradually grown over the years, and now we're at 32 million where we haven't spent. This just breaks out the expenses by department. So we did a little bit of a reorganization for fiscal year 2024. So you'll see as close as we can to getting the apples to apples comparison there. Our $32 million that we had actually consists of airside operations, our administration, our terminal building operations. And just to give you some insight, airside is anything that's related to our airfield, and you'll see that breakdown in that financial package. Administration, you know, Harry, Jeremy, myself, and others in the admin team. Terminal building is everything inside this building that we're currently in right now. So what it takes to operate this building. Our control center is the people that actually look at everything that's happening in the terminal building, and then our law enforcement and fire. You'll see that in fiscal year 2019, we had 23 million in expenses, and now we're at 32 million for fiscal year 24. This slide here shows the share of expenses by type. So you'll see that our, in the orange, our salaries and benefits, our contractual services, and the green materials supplies, totals about 81% of our fiscal year 2024 budget. For our revenues,
you'll see that our operating revenues were about 40 million for fiscal year 2024, when compared to 2019, we were at 25 million. So you can definitely see that we increased in our revenue that we've been collecting. Our aeronautical revenues consist of the orange, which is our landing fees, the blue, which is the airline terminal fees, and then our gate fees, which is another blue, and then green and purple for the baggage handling and our loading bridge fees. So, overall, our aeronautical revenues are about 36% of our total revenues when compared to 27% in 2019. So we're doing well. This gives you an idea of benchmarking against other airports that are comparable to our airport. This is expenses per in-plane passenger. So you'll see that Palm Springs expenses is about $20.71 per in-plane passenger. That's a passenger that gets onto a plane and leaves the airport. You'll see that next to that, we have, Long Beach, which is kind of similar to us. They're not the same in the number of enplanements, but they're at $24. We even have a slide on here, or a bar that shows fiscal year 2023 at $14.51. And then this kind of just, the chart off to the right shows the comparison to other Southern California airports. So you have Ontario at $26, we're at 20, San Diego at $14. So, and obviously, when you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport, right? So they're not all the same. You can't do a complete apples to apples comparison because they don't have the same number of enplanements, they don't have the same number of staff, of expenses, of revenues. And we all operate as a business, so we're all independent and very different. This is our cost per enplane revenue, same thing, cost per enplane passenger, comparing it as a small hub airport, which is what we are. That's the total number of our enplanements that we have that make us a small hub airport. This is our CPE that we typically give to the airlines. When we're going through our negotiations, when we're talking about our budget every year, we're talking these numbers to our airlines, and obviously for them, the lower the number, the better. They want to operate here at our airport. So, and they use that as a benchmark compared to other airports. And so it's just another benchmarking metric here. So you'll see how we have the comparison to other similar airports, but then also to Southern California airports. And we're still, compared to other Southern California airports, we're still ranking pretty low. And that's it. Again, in your packet, you have a commissioner financial guide that it's just a real simple, 101, this is our airport, this is how many airlines we have, but more specifically, where our money comes from. This could probably be your Bible for through the year when we're talking about things. And this just goes over on revenue and expense accounts that we have. So anyway, Commissioner Hendrick.
Why is Burbank at $1.99? What are they doing, not doing? That makes such a huge difference.
I have no idea.
And I thought they had added October there. I thought they were updates. Yeah, I thought they were doing a major reconstruction program.
Yeah.
Just, but in any event, looks like we're doing fantastic.
Commissioner Martin?
Just curious about slide 3.
You say slide 3?
Sorry, page 3, sorry. Just the sort of difference in airside operations, was that because of this reclassification of what expenses are? Or is that sort of just an increase in our airside?
It's a little bit of both, actually. Yeah, it's definitely both. We've done a lot more this year, at least this last fiscal year, than we've done in prior years. So for sure, it's both.
What's the number? mostly the repair works that we're doing?
Yeah, so we historically have been terrible at preventative and predictive maintenance, and that's one of the things that we've been correcting over the last couple of years. And so we're starting to focus on those things, which is driving additional airside expenses.
Commissioner McDermott?
Yeah, I noticed some flux here when we look at the administration percentage in this graph compared to 2019. That's almost half. Is that due to the fact that we're having a challenge with hiring?
That has to do with the challenge with hiring, yes. And then we've also moved some people, some of the managers' pay into the other buckets of money where they're actually at. But for sure, we do have that challenge there, yes.
Other questions? Any questions? Yes, please.
I just want to compliment Maria and working with Frasca, and this is a very excellent presentation. It's always a challenge to get a lot of numbers to a simplified format that actually adds value. And I think you've done that well.
Thank you.
A work in progress for 2 years, right, Victoria?
Okay.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the public? Any comments from?
Anyone on Zoom that wishes to provide public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand at this time.
We have no public.
Let's move on to consensus. Some positive news from consensus. Jeremy, go for it.
All right, we're going to try to share this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, pardon me.
Okay, so this is the basic projected schedule of opening dates. You can see how I kind of gave you a glimpse of everything that's open. 9 Cities is open, A Joshua is open, Las Palmas Oasis is now open. In Motion, Cactus to Clouds, and Uptown Central, so we've come quite a long way with the opening some of the new concessions. You can see on here, Las Casuelas is kind of the next one to open, is next week. It's scheduled for 9/27, but we're expecting to actually open that on Tuesday, the 24th, so a few days early, so. That space is just about to be turned over. They're in their training and kind of last minute touches, and it's looking really beautiful down there, so. We're excited about opening that next week. Next after that is Pink Door, and Pink Door will be, the land side, inside the main terminal by the checkpoint, and I'm gonna go over some of the pictures to show you here. Trio has just got barricaded off, and Bolo will be the next one to get barricaded off and closed as soon as Las Casuelas opens here in a few days. We're expecting Pink Door in November and Trio Vino Bolo probably end of December, early January. And then after those get open, then we'll get into the movie called the Canteen, which is up on the 2nd floor of the Bono, and then the Coachella Valley beauty card. If this won't go through or not. All right. So here's 9 Cities. This is down in the Agua Caliente concourse. If you haven't had a chance to fly out or see that yet, we're in that space. Here's A Joshua up in the Bono concourse. Las Palmas Oasis is open now. They actually are going to be doing a little bit of facade changes here the next couple of weeks as well. In Motion is open. Uptown Essentials, this is down in the Agua Caliente concourse. This is Cactus and Clouds that opened, 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe now. This replaced the fountain that was inside the Bono, in the Bono courtyard, second floor. Next is Las Casuelas. This kind of shows you kind of where they're at in the process of, doing the really beautiful tile they have in there. And then you see on the right side, the kind of the rendering of what it's going. This is getting into Trio or Santa Rosa Kitchen. We just got into the demo last week, so you can see how it's kind of, we're starting to really tear it apart in there. This is kind of a rendering of what it's gonna look like. That's the barricade wall, and there's also a coffee station there, as well as some drinks and sandwiches that they're selling on the outside of the wall. And then after, in a couple weeks, we'll probably be closing down PSP Coffee as soon as Las Casuelas opens, and that turns into Vino Lolo, so you can see a rendering there. This is gonna be the pink door. This is what you see now with the vending machines. A couple of these vending machines get scooted down into package claim. There'll be a barricade wall that'll go up, and you can see the rendering of what it's gonna be expected to look like when we open that in November. And then, as everybody's aware, we'll be calling Canteen. This will be up behind this barricade wall, second floor above it. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Just wondering, I was seeing like the project's timeline. I was curious why the pink door is so much longer than every other project.
It kind of changed, you know, it was a retail store, and then we kind of went back to the drawing board and wanted to add some coffee to it. You know, there was a lot of demand for that, so we kind of changed the design 2 or 3 times while we closed it down, so that's why it's taken a while to get there.
They went through, Pink Door went through a lot of changes along the way, so.
Commissioner Sandlaster?
Yeah, so this is really exciting stuff for those of us who wandered around at 5 o'clock in the morning and still reminded us of place to eat, so. It's wonderful stuff that is happening. I'm wondering if anyone knows how they're doing with staffing and what the options are for those of us that are catching early flights in the morning. Are there going to be, some of these going to be open and staffed so that we can find things to eat before we go on the
Yes, we've had a lot of those conversations with the local GMs for both areas and W. Smith, so they're well aware of the needs and to be open ahead of the morning departure. So if you're not seeing that, then please let us know. But we've had multiple conversations with them, so they know what our expectations.
Can you remind us what the agreement is? It's 60 minutes before and 30 minutes after, is that right? Is that still what we're shooting for?
It's 30.
Yeah, it's actually 30 minutes before the first departure, which doesn't make much sense, right? But we've been lucky with Harry's and W. Smith, they're actually opening earlier than that, even though they're you know, beyond their agreement. It just says 30 minutes, but I think they're doing 60 right now.
They are, because they recognize that the passengers are getting here, obviously, 30 minutes before the flight departs is when they start boarding. So they're getting here 30 minutes earlier than that, so they're trying to open their stores up. Now, maybe during the summer, maybe you may have not seen them open early in the morning, or some stores not open because we go to summer hours. However, if you do see a store not open in the morning, we would love to know. Like, we really love to know.
A lot of progress, Jeremy, anything else?
No,
Is there any questions on Zoom or from the public? It's very exciting. Now, just a reminder that we have our little open house mentioned earlier. It's Monday the 30th from 5:30 to 7:30. I believe everybody got invited. So if you want to join us, we'll teach you all at Cactus and Clouds for Cactus. Long time ago. You need a feedback on that by tomorrow. I think that's what it said in the calendar. Okay, Christina, okay to move forward? Let's go to 7F, this project and airport improvement program here.
Okay, I provided most of our report in the packet, but there are a couple of things that I actually did want to highlight. So the first is our Taxiway Whiskey project. What reflects that, that project is now moving forward, with certainly, September 30th. So we're gonna be, basically going to overlay that taxiway and constructing it over the next few months. Hopefully get that wrapped up before we really start getting heavy. We've been in consultation with the airlines, talking to them about the project. They understand what needs to happen, as well as with air traffic control. So, we're gonna get that started as soon as possible. Hopefully wrap that up before it gets too busy around here. The second project I really wanted to highlight was the shade structure project, post security. So if you've gone through, you noticed that we've had it's been installed for a while. Well, we've been trying to install a shade structure, and I think we're now on design 3 of trying to figure that out. As we've been popular in the area, we're just constantly running into utilities and abandoned stuff that's just not reflected on any map anywhere. So, we've been we're on the 3rd iteration of the redesign. I think we got it dialed in. However, the shade structure will be reduced. And I think once we get a design completed, we'll have Jeremy present that design to the group so you can understand what that looks like before it's constructed. And then the final thing, which is not in the report, so in July, the airport, in partnership with AAAE, the American Association of Airport Executives, joined the Airport Consortium on Transformation. And we're specifically one of 43 airports now looking at electrification, digitalization, and the change in customer experience over the next few years for airports, what that looks like regulatory wise and what that looks like as a user coming through the airport. So we're part of a working group to improve that experience for airports nationally. And each of us is now sitting on a committee for that, but I just wanted to make sure that the commission knew what was happening behind the scenes on that. And that is the end of my report.
Couple questions, parking lot electrification, I think the dates are out of date here.
Maybe.
When are they going, when can we expect them?
We are waiting on SCE to provide designs to the airport that we can approve, and then we're off to the races, and that's basically where we are now. We've already purchased the equipment, it's been on hand for quite a while. We've been waiting for SCE to give us the design.
Are we gonna provide the service for free? Will it be charged, will people be charged for using it?
Victoria and I have been talking about that, what that looks like. There will likely be some fee. We don't know what that looks like yet. But with our utilities costs increasing, we want to make sure that we're getting that money back in some way.
Other questions, please?
I noticed a comment here around the water flow stations. Looks like the installation early fall. Is there an update on that? Because I think it shows one.
Well, we started, so there's one downstairs right now. That's a slow moving situation, but we're gonna try and get that done over the next few weeks, actually.
Okay, great.
What a ceremony. Get us started on the water. Other questions on this? Okay. All right, any comments or questions from the public?
Anyone on Zoom?
Hi, just a quick
Please
question.
announce your name, please.
Hi, Chris Wilson. You mentioned the water filling station, so there's gonna be, chilled water?
Yes.
The current ones aren't particularly.
Oh, come on. Chris, you're gonna push all our buttons. We'll invite you to the ceremony when we're all done. That's gonna happen. Any other comments or questions?
Anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak in public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand.
All right, let's go to executive report. Anything else? Barry?
Nothing else on the executive report. There's some legislative stuff happening in DC, which I'm tracking, but nothing that I'm ready to discuss now.
All right, good. Any other comments or questions on that? Good, commissioners' request for reports. Anything else from commissioners you'd like to raise or chat about?
Commissioner Clark?
Yesterday, Mark and Victoria came to city council and he even gave me a script to read. I read part of but our council was very interested and for some reason, we had many more people there and they were all interested. So it was good. And they talked about,
Noise,
pardon me?
the noise,
No, the cost.
oh, yes, we talked about the cost of the master plan, yes.
And, our council always wants to know what cost is, and they did it before. So we didn't have to, we did have some questions, but, they were good, but I would say everyone was interested.
Scott. Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off the commissioner's comments. A couple meetings ago when I was here, we introduced Trevor Daly and his communications team. And one of the things we talked about is we wanted to take this information out to all the cities in the valley and go to all the council meetings. And when we go there, we kind of hope that the commissioner for that city might join the team. So they started out with Desert Hot Springs, was the first city out of the gate, and great thanks to Victoria and the rest of the communications team. I heard that it was very well received, it went really well. So I know they're gonna try to get out to all the cities, and so for those commissioners that are representing other cities, I know we'll be in touch with you to kind of help us kind of sell all the work that we're talking about here. So more to come on all that, I think. Yeah.
Commissioner Fong? You're on mute.
There, sorry about that. I had sent an email to the chairman about 2 weeks ago regarding the future of some construction that might take place because of the master plan along Gene Autry. And I was wondering whether, whether Kevin, whether you received that or whether I should raise it at another meeting.
Sorry about this. We not only did we receive it, but we passed it along to the folks working on this. We didn't have time to chat about this today. Craig, let's put it on the agenda and we'll pick it up. I think they wanted to nail the parking structure decision. This is getting into some other things that I think are important. Let's make sure it's addressed when you come back and then be on the next agenda. We do have it here.
That's not a problem. We'll talk about it next time.
Thank you. All right, any other comments or questions? One thing here is a couple of emails going back and forth about the next public master plan meeting. You just tell us what the latest is on that?
Yeah, so, as we've been revisiting what to do with the rental car facility and, the alternatives, we, determined that we needed to have another public open house meeting. We intend to do before we bring these alternatives back to the city council for them to digest and potentially, vote. So we're targeting the date right now, November 7th. We're still trying to nail down a venue. I spoke with Scott earlier today and he provided a suggestion, which I haven't gotten to Christina yet to talk about, but still working on a venue. But in the interim, while we're doing that, we're reaching out to each of the city councils. We already spoke to Desert Hot Springs, which you heard from Commissioner Pye. But we're going around each of the city councils to brief what we're working on leading up to that meeting. And then we'll have that public open house so we can discuss where we landed before we take that to city council. So that's kind of where we are
All right, so the evening of the 7th, we want to put on your calendars if you're interested. We'll have more information about that in our October meeting. All right, anything else, Gary, or team?
Nothing else.
Okay, when's our next meeting, Christina?
You want to discuss the committee assignment?
Oh, I do want to discuss that. Commissioner Jessup. I want to take the lead.
Yeah, so I took our list of existing committees by name. It's the very last page of your packet. We took those who responded with your preferences, tried to marry all of them. As well as just make sure that every commissioner was on at least one committee. So that's what you see here. We do have, we step up against, Brown Act, so we have to make sure that we never have more than 9 members on, any one particular committee. So that's why we've kept, budget and operations at 9. if anyone has a question or just a concern about the one that we assigned, just shoot me a note, shoot Kevin a note. We'll be happy to make some switches around, but that's where we stand at the moment, and I thank those who said yes when I tapped them on the shoulder to lead committee. So Sam and Craig, thank you very much for stepping up and leading two of our committees. Any questions?
We'll talk about subcommittee dates at our next meeting. And some of the chairmen or some of the chairs are excited to get started with the subcommittees. So we'll have more discussions there. David Felt and others, Craig will go back, be able to look at this. Wow, what a meeting, huh? 5 minutes is a miracle. So I want to just, first of all, thank all commissioners for taking your time. We appreciate this. Thank you, staff, for your preparation. Victoria, great job on this little booklet. We loved it. Jeremy, we can't wait to get to all these concessions. So, all right, we'll celebrate it in the couple weeks when we all come together. Thank you all, and I think we're we need a proposal. Do we get that anymore? We don't.
No.
All right, great. Well said. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.